114. I did something a little bit different this week. I'm not working in watercolors, and I am really just sort of doing a mixed media piece, and I mostly am painting with a hotel key card. Rocks are really easy to do with, I use gouache here and just regular acrylic white paint. Here I'm taking it and just putting it on the one side of the card and then just dragging the paint down. And you see that how that just creates all the rocks and the textures, and you don't even have to work at it. So I will have to go in and sort of just pop in some shadows. But for the most part, the work is done with doing it this way. I'll also use a hotel key card. I cut it though, so that I can kind of lay some trees down in the foreground. And it's just easy. It just is an easy way to give texture and without having to get stuck on details and all that kind of jazz. So kind of a different technique this week. Psalm 114, it was a little bit rough for me because it's a short this is a short psalm, and usually that's, not a big deal. Here I'm just popping in some shadows just so that you get a receding feeling of the rocks, the mountains going back. So detail work is just with the pencil. I used a Stabilo All pencil, ALL pencil, so that it's just a water-based pencil. Here, my Bible had a tremble thing, like a graphic drawn in it, which I didn't want. So I covered it in white paint. But the thing is that if you put a little bit of paint on a page, the paint is going to react differently where there's paint and then where there's just gesso. So I just put the white around the whole outside of it so that the paint would respond somewhat the same. It didn't. You'll see that when I put the blue down, it still has places where it's not taking as much, and that's because of the first primary layer of gesso and any kind of brush marks that I had from that. So, but it's all mixed media, it's all fun, and it all comes out in the wash. So there's a reason that I'm kind of putting this yellow in, and let me just get to that as we go on to the psalm. So, very quickly, the psalm, it was a hard one for me. I kind of had a minute trying to figure out what the visual was of it. Because of course I was just enamored with that the lambs were oh mountains, what frightened you so, and you hills, what made you shiver. Yeah, I know there's a big blob of blue paint there. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to pick it off. If I try to go in, I tried to lift it right there. Nope, you see how it moved? So I just leave it alone. Do you also see in the blue how it's just different colors no matter what, because that's the paint strokes of the gesso when I put the gesso down. So, but it's fine. It's okay. So let me just read Psalm 114 from the Passion Translation. Many years ago, the Jewish people escaped Egypt's tyranny. So we're back to Israel's escape and looking back over the Red Sea and how he saved his people, how God saved his people. So that Israel, God's people of praise, amen, would become his holy sanctuary, his kingdom on earth. That's beautiful. The Red Sea waters saw them coming and ran the other way. Then later the Jordan River too moved aside so that they could all pass through. Here I'm laying in with a card silhouettes of trees for the foreground. The land shuddered with fear. Mountains and hills shook with dread. Oh, see what happened to make you flee. Oh, Jordan, what was it that made you turn and run? Oh, mountains, what frightened you so? And you hills, what made you shiver? Tremble, O earth, for you are in the presence of the Lord, the God of Jacob. He splits open boulders and brings up bubbling water. Gushing streams burst forth when he is near. My amplified version says that the mountains skip like lambs, and something else skips like rams and like sheep. So that's why in the printable this week there is a lamb. Here I cut my card and I'm laying in the highlights of the pine trees, and then of course because it's Christmas week I had to put in a little bit of snow. So the lamb in the printable for me comes back to this whole image that I got for it. So here's the visual that I got for this week. the mountains trembled. The mountains were not skipping in joy. Everything trembles under the power and under as it faces the Lord, as it faces God. Nothing is more mighty than our God. Nothing is bigger than our God. There is nothing that does not stand before the throne of thrones and is less than our God. So for me, what I was thinking was that when we look back at the history of the Israelites, yes, there were these like mighty places where earth intersected with heaven. But today, there are places where there are mountains that we face. And when we stand in the shadow of our God, we know that those mountains are nothing for him. Those are his footstool. So that little bit of yellow that I have traipsing up the mountain, here's the deal. When we have mountains to face, we sit there and we can be rendered inoperative because we think that we have to take the mountain and we have to take it head on and we have to scale it and it's going to be hard and we just and we psych ourselves out and sometimes we don't even move because we're so afraid of the mountain. But here's the deal. Our God is bigger than the mountain. Our God, we don't have to necessarily go over the mountain unless he's calling us to it. That little gold path from the side, there could be just a side path that Jesus will take our hand and lead us over the mountain in the easiest way possible. But we have to trust in our God and we have to enter into taking the mountain in whatever way the Lord asks us to take the mountain. So I think sometimes if there's a mountain that you're facing and you're just rendered that you cannot move, remember that there is nothing that is too big for our God. Any mountain that we face is a place and an opportunity for our God to show up and to show off and for us to trust in him and to just be amazed at the sovereignty of our God. So the lamb in the printables, the mountains are these crystals and these gems because in the moment you can't say this, but the places where we walk with the Lord the closest, those are blessings. Those are the places where our faith is made stronger and where we are made stronger because of him. And in those places, I think our relationship with him is tried, tested, and grows. So mountains can be seen as a blessing. So that's why I've got the lamb, I've got the crystal mountains, and I've got this that no matter what you're facing, he's got it. He's got a path and he's got a way, and let him guide you. Let him be the one that takes you over the problems and over the mountains. All right, guys, it is Christmas week. Have a merry, merry Christmas, and I will see you next weekend for Psalm 115. Thanks, guys. Bye.